Well, welcome back to South Wales, and as winter approaches, I think it's time for some more ghostly tales from mysterious South Wales. And for my first story, I'm starting in my hometown of Porthcawl on the South Wales coast. Well, Porthcawl as a town isn't that old. It was developed in the 1800s with the building of Porthcawl Harbour. Before then, it consisted of two very old villages, Newton and where my story's set, the village of Nottage. Well, this story actually takes place on a very old country lane known as Moor Lane, which runs east to west along the north side of Nottage. Even today, the lane is quite quiet. There's an old well on a junction where the inlet from the sea used to meet a river, and as you would expect, there are a few ghostly tales about the area. Well, some of these stories you do have to take with a pinch of salt. One involves a headless horseman. That's right, like something out of Sleepy Hollow. A headless horseman who gallops after dark along Moor Lane. Another concerns a ghost train. That's right, a ghost train, a ghost of a steam train that runs through the ruins of Nottage Halt railway station and across the bridge, Cuckoo Bridge, into the distance. But I think both of those stories may originate in the pubs of Nottage when somebody's had a bit too much to drink. That's my theory. Also, you're not meant to whistle when you pass under the old railway bridge known as Cuckoo Bridge, because this apparently conjures up malevolent forces. But our story doesn't concern headless horsemen or ghost trains. It's about something far more mundane, which to me makes it much more scary. The figure in the road. Well, many years ago, a group of friends were driving down Moor Lane, taking a shortcut. And being young, they weren't bothered by any of these superstitious stories. And as they passed under the bridge, jokingly, they all whistled. Emerging the other side, they laughed because nothing happened. So they continued driving along Moor Lane. Suddenly, Emily, the driver, stamped on the brakes and the car screeched to a stop. There, standing in front of them, was an old woman in tattered clothes, a haggard face, just standing in front of the car. She slowly walked towards the car window and with her bony fingers tapped on the glass. "Help me," she pleaded. "My car's broken down and I'm lost." So the friends did feel sorry for her and said, "We'll give you a lift," and they helped her into the back of the car. But as soon as the door closed, a strange, evil atmosphere enveloped the car. Something wasn't quite right. As they drove along the lane, the woman just sat there, muttering, giving a very vague description of where she wanted to go. Something wasn't right. As they drove further along the road, the weather closed in and it became darker, and despite knowing the area quite well, they didn't know where along Moor Lane they were. Then suddenly the woman in the back let out a loud, terrifying scream, and her face contorted into a sinister grin. Emily slammed on the brakes and the car once again skidded to a halt. The doors flew open and the friends just bolted into the fields either side. So as they ran away, they looked back and they saw the headlights of the car flickering. Then suddenly they went out, complete blackness. and in the distance they heard a chilling laugh echoing across the fields. Then silence. Complete silence descended over the area. Well, they didn't have the courage to return to the car until the next morning. And when they got there, it was completely as they left it. No sign of this sinister old woman. They thought the events, maybe they made them up. There was like hysteria. They were just being silly. Anyway, they got on with their lives. Until 6 months later, when the four friends were driving down the same road. Somehow, the car lost control and the car ended up hitting a tree, instantly killing the four friends. So did the ghostly spirit come back to claim the four after they got away earlier? Or was that a premonition of things to come? Anyway, for our next story, we're going to travel a few miles west and back 700 years. The Monks of Margam Abbey. Well, Margam Abbey dates from the 12th century and it became one of the richest and most important abbeys in Wales. But in 1349, the Black Death hit, dramatically changing the fortunes of the Monks of Margam. Well, the Black Death didn't differentiate between the peasants and the monks. It swept through the abbey, greatly reducing the number of monks by killing them, or they simply ran away. But what happened to the monks who remained? Well, the people from the nearby village whispered of eerie chants which emanated from the abbey at night. One fateful stormy evening, a traveller was walking through the woods along the ridgeway and he was desperate for shelter, and he came across the old church in the clearing which overlooks Margam Abbey. During the night he heard the haunting chants drifting through the abbey stone walls. Curiosity got the better of him and he decided to investigate. He scrambled down the hillside to the abbey, and when he looked in, the monks were gathered around an altar upon which lay a lifeless body covered in a crimson shroud. As he looked closer, he noticed they were feeding on the flesh. These monks were no longer devout followers of God. In their struggle with the horrors of the plague, they had turned to ancient dark rituals. He watched in horror as the monks continued their feeding frenzy. Then suddenly one of the monks spotted him, and with supernatural speed, he lunged at the traveller. They chased him back up the path until they caught him here at the monk's bath. Like animals, they tore his clothes and dragged him inside, never to be seen again. Over the following years, a number of travellers continued to go missing when they were walking the ridgeway. But following the Black Death and the chaos that ensued, they were quickly forgotten about. Well, what happened to the monks? Well, despite their desperate measures and their dark rituals, they never regained the power and wealth and continued to die due to the plague. So take care when you walk in this area alone at night. A sinister presence still remains in the woods and in the stones of the ancient abbey. So those are a couple of ghost stories from mysterious South Wales. Do I believe in ghosts? Of course not. But when you walk this area as the sun goes down, it's hard not to get a bit creeped out. Anyway, I think it's time for me to go. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Bye.